very good evening and a warm welcome to State of Business on our television. I am Sabindri Jayawardena. Let's look at the top stories for the day. India and Sri Lanka holds discussion on rescheduling of bilateral debt repayment by Sri Lanka. Master plan of the skills development decade will be kicked off soon, subject expert says. News in detail. Indian High Commission announced that the officials from the Treasury had engaged in a discussion with India over the rescheduling of bilateral debt repayment by Sri Lanka. An official from the High Commission also revealed that both the Sri Lankan President and Prime Minister had engaged in telephone conversations with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. According to the Indian High Commission sources, India and Sri Lanka last Wednesday held a technical discussion on rescheduling of bilateral debt repayment by Sri Lanka. The Indian delegation, comprising of senior officials from the Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Finance and the Exim Bank, interacted with representatives from the Department of External Resources from the Central Bank through a video conference. High Commission officials said that the discussion between both sides was very constructive and ended assuring a positive atmosphere. The official also reminded that Indian Prime Minister contacted the Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic on the 23rd of May and discussed over the possible health and economic impacts in the region. He further added that Premier Modi also talked to his Sri Lankan counterpart Mahinda Rajapaksa over the same issues on the 27th of May. Further, during a courtesy call on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa by the High Commissioner of India, Gopal Bagle, on the 29th of May, had agreed to accelerate India's participation in Sri Lanka's post-COVID economic recovery. The next round of technical discussions between the two sides on rescheduling of debt repayment is expected to be held soon. The official also assured that Indian High Commission will continue to work towards coordinating and facilitating such engagement as a part of India's overall commitment to work with Sri Lanka to counter and mitigate the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Explaining in detail on the recently announced Skills Development Decade, ICT Industry Skills Council representative and Vice President of Huawei Technologies Lanka, Indika de Souza, stresses that a Skills Development Decade is declared to fast-track the efforts of producing a skilled labor force that would meet the international standards. He made these observations speaking exclusively to BIS Roundup Special Edition, which will be aired at 8:30 p.m. tomorrow.
In 2014, current Prime Minister at that time has a capacity as the President for the country, he has proposed to United Nations that there should be a dedicated or focus day for skills development for youth. So, in 2014, this resolution was adopted at the United Nations. This was proposed in 2013 and adopted, and 15th of July was the day that the day was announced by the United Nations. So, now 15th of July 2020, the current President Gotabaya Rajapaksa announced the skills decade, because there is a link why this is all about. And also a few months back, President has appointed a presidential task force to look into this, because this has been a key area which is continued to be focused. So, this is primary recommendation. There are primary recommendations are already on progress, and looking at all these areas: general education, higher education, vocational education, even pre-reven education. There are things which is being looked at, what needed for future, what are the skills is needed for future, industries involved in it, and with that this decade was named with a roadmap. So, now if you look at a kid who's getting into the school, in 10 years the kid will actually get into the job market. So, we have a full cycle coming in. We will have a complete roadmap, short term, mid term, long term. Actually, what will happen is more likely, like till about 2025 the changes will happen, and after 2025, which is we will have the harvesting happening. That means that production will come into the market and start doing the changes.
Nationalist candidate of National People's Power, Dr. Anil Jayanth, stresses that post-COVID-19 economic model should be a new model which places importance on justice, fair distribution of wealth and optimum usage of resources. Thus, Dr. Jayanta made these observations launching the economic policy of NPP at its Economic Forum 2020 held in Colombo yesterday.
We should not think of rebuilding or regaining the economic system that we had just before COVID, because many tries to talk about existing economy and rebuild that economy after COVID. Post-COVID economy shouldn't be what we were having in the past. It should be totally a different one. That is what we propose. Of course, we strongly believe it is not simple belief, it is a justifiable belief with facts and other justification, and how we could develop an alternative economy. Our proposal are to develop an alternative economy. This alternative economy is based on basic principles which basically uphold the justice, humanity, fair distribution of wealth, and optimal utilization of resources, and together as a cross-cutting activity, technology. If such a system can be implemented, of course, economy can be improved.
Stay tuned for more news right after this. Welcome back after the break. Bringing forward an analysis on the stock market trading, investment institution First Capital Holdings emphasizes that the continuous dominance in turnover levels contributed by the banking sector witnessed throughout the week was broken by the materials sector by its high turnover levels yesterday.
On Monday, we witnessed the equity retail market aiding to break the short-term psychological resistance level of 5,000. High volumes were recorded for the week with high retail activity on the back of a positive momentum gained due to the continuous COVID-19 recoveries. Throughout the week, we witnessed continuous dominance in turnover levels contributed mainly by the banking sector. On Thursday, the streak was finally broken with materials sector making the highest contribution to turnover. Net foreign outflow continued to dominate for the week with highest participation. Foreign investors were witnessed on Monday and Tuesday, recording at 26% and 27% respectively.
Speaking further, subject expert at First Capital Holdings added that the positive momentum in the equity market will continue in the coming week. Nevertheless, it was also noted that it is likely that the foreigners may continue residing on the selling side.
We expect the continuous positive momentum in the equity market to continue despite bond yields witnessing a slight uptrend due to selling pressure on the back of a dip in overnight liquidity. With the release of delayed quarterly earnings due to COVID-19, which may adversely affect selected counters, foreigners may continue to be on the sell side, although strong buying interest from retailers is likely to absorb the impact.
Stating that the recent COVID-19 outbreaks in the world are associated with social gatherings, World Health Organization requests people not to let down the guard against the COVID-19 since people are still very much susceptible to the virus. Dr. Ghebreyesus made these observations at the regular COVID-19 press briefing held yesterday.
In recent weeks, we have seen outbreaks associated with nightclubs and other social gatherings, even in places where transmission had been suppressed. We must remember that most people are still susceptible to this virus. As long as it's circulating, everyone is at risk. Just because cases might be at a low level where you live, that doesn't make it safe to let down your guard. Don't expect someone else to keep you safe. We all have a part to play in protecting ourselves and one another. First, know your situation. Do you know how many cases were reported where you live yesterday? Do you know where to find that information? Second, do you know how to minimize your exposure? Are you being careful to keep at least 1 meter from others? Are you still cleaning your hands regularly? Are you following the advice of your local authorities? No matter where you live or how old you are, you can be a leader in your community, not just to defeat the pandemic, but to build back better.
Stay tuned for stock updates right after this break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The All-Share Price Index gained 24.42 points to close at 5,065.3 and the S&P SL 20 gained 2.26 points to close at 2,161.89. The turnover was 871 million rupees and over 62 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all news for today. See you tomorrow with the BIS Roundup special edition at 8:30 p.m. Until then, take care. Good night.